All right. So we're all here for Tamil Nadu Debating Championship training and master classes for that. So you'll be appearing for the qualifiers. So there's a qualifiers round, and if you do well there, you're likely to just represent your school or wherever you come from offline as well at IIT Madras. So great opportunity, make the most of it. Wins do not matter because even if you were to listen to master classes carefully and like just diligently attend, there's a lot you end up learning within this like your peers and also just like us assuring that you have the best of training that we can possibly furnish, right? So Ugly has been known for a lot of other such tournaments that we've organized successfully. Ideal BP qualifiers was very recently concluded. It was a success. We used TabbyCat for the first time, which is just like a software which makes debating a lot more fun, but also helps you keep the process transparent of how who got how many speaks, etc. So that happened. So we're always having tournaments every now and then. It just helps us grow as a community and helps you grow as debaters who are also looking for like prospective opportunities to make your profile better, which is where these recent international wins also come in. We take immense pride in like just sharing it with you all that these smaller tournaments, such as national levels, such as TNDC, Tamil Nadu Debating Championship itself, often pave the path for like international wins for you, and which also is something that we furnish as an organization. So recently we had at KCL the top breaking team, which had Shivansh and Mannat, and we trained them, of course. And then there was the LSE teams, in fact, two teams. Please mute yourself. Okay, this is very disturbing. Please mute yourself. Yes. Okay, so LSE, we had two categories in which we had two teams break in different categories, the junior and the senior categories. So yeah, it can be a fulfilling experience as long as you are willing to make the most of it. Right. So as for today's session, what do I intend to do? The purpose here is to just tell you what you are going to get by the end of this journey of having participated in TNDC, and the next steps, as in when does the team declaration happen, how will the motions be given, what would the qualifiers look like, etc. Which also entails format of the tournament, then the structure of the format, because there's going to be some modifications. So the junior category is going to have smaller speeches in terms of duration, and the senior teams are going to have like a little bit more time to just deliver their speeches. So those clarifications I'll be making, so you should be all ears for that. And then POIs, interjections for whoever is new to the format. I'll be talking about that as well. Some tips and tricks, adjudication criteria, and the speaker rules, right? Okay. So about IIT Madras and like TNDC in general, what do we intend to achieve as an organization for you all through this event, right? First of all, you get a chance to compete in the finals offline at IIT Madras. We think and we are well aware that a lot of you aspire to be like studying in these engineering colleges. So it always helps you build confidence and profile when you just go ahead and debate at such places at like this point in time when you just like maybe in seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th grade. So this is a nice time to explore, but also get that confidence and get seem like closer to your goals. Now, secondly, on the idea of master classes, like I said, we're going to make master classes very holistic. They're not going to be like run of the mill master classes where you don't learn a lot about debates. We're going to make it practice oriented, activity based. So if you choose to attend them regularly, you're sure going to benefit from it, right? Holistic feedback then will also be given, which is to say that on 20th December, we'll be having some sort of like a mock wherein you'll be given proper feedback on your speeches, etc. So like I said, practice based, but also with immediate feedback of like which you can work on. So it's always a process of learning and never solely of wins and losses. Then you also stand a chance to win a wildcard entry at the next international tournament, whatever that might be, if you were to perform well at TNDC. And then, of course, you get recognition on media platforms and there's certificates for everybody, just so your efforts are recognized and documented. All right, on to the next steps then. Team declaration will happen for dynamic pairs by tomorrow, which is 19 December 2022, after which you're supposed to introduce yourself in the WhatsApp groups, in your respective WhatsApp groups, and in this particular format, right? So why this is needed and how this helps is that your teammates will find it easier to find like find you on WhatsApp and contact you directly, because you have to coordinate with the teammates besides the main WhatsApp group where all of us are there, right? So that is just like better facilitated if you just follow this particular format. Then you of course get to know your team better, as says the third point, and create a WhatsApp group for your team to connect, because like I said, there's a bigger group that we have on WhatsApp. So if you want to be in direct touch with your teammates, which you should be for practice, etc., just like have a separate WhatsApp group or whatever works for you, right? um yeah, that's pretty much it. All of this comes like in the trainings, it's a bit of things. So who goes as which speaker is also determined by like yourself, and there's no intervention of the organization in determining who will go as which speaker. Let's say first speaker, or second speaker, or third speaker from a particular team. So that's also entirely on you to decide. So you can discuss with your teammates, etc., whenever that happens, right? Are there any questions so far then, before I go on to the format explanation?
No. I have a question.
Yes, please.
Will the teams be determined by the organization, or are we supposed to form our own?
Teams are determined by the organization. Which speaker you choose to go as within the team is not determined by us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other question? Yeah, I see one more hand. Arena?
Yeah. So my question was that in the form that we submitted, we wrote a preferred like partner name. So will that partner be in our team? Will that be ensured?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Please just lower your hands once your doubts are cleared. Any other doubts? Should we move on? All right, seeing none. Okay, yeah, Sashank.
So the team should be formed by the organizing committee.
Yes, yeah.
Then why was it an option for us to?
No, you can give your suggestions. We'll take them into consideration. But then people who've come like registered individually, for them team declaration is happening through us. So if you have suggestions, you can just drop a mail and we'll take that into consideration.
No,
but everybody else,
I already have a 3-member team, so
you do, right? So just drop a
yes.
mail, we'll take that into consideration.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Priyanka?
Yeah, so when will the selections be held? Like the qualifications?
It's either 21st of December or 24th. That'll be determined and conveyed shortly.
Will it be online or offline?
Online.
All right, thank you.
All right. Sashank can lower his hand just so I'm not confused. Abhinav?
So I actually have a person from my school, but I forgot to mention their name in the form when filling up. So is it possible to add them to my team tomorrow or something like that?
You're going to have to like drop a mail, I'm afraid. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Gurjay Paul.
Yes, so I have a teammate, but we're still one member short. So would you be able to provide someone to fill just to
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Diksha?
Hello, sir. So what's the maximum limit of team members for a team?
3 people.
3. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Arena? Is there another question?
Yeah, I have another doubt. When is the final competition, like TNDC? When is it?
25th of December.
25th. Okay. Thank you.
Shreya?
Yeah, in the form I've already specified who my teammates are, but should I also send an email?
If you mentioned it in the form, you don't have to do it again through the mail.
Okay, sure.
Sarvesh?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just a bit confused. Can you clear me up on this? Like in our school, the in charge teacher for us selected 3 members from our team, and in the form preference, we were given the option to write the team member name, and we have filled it up. Should we send another mail to the OC, I mean, organizing committee?
No.
Okay.
So this is only for people who have not been able to do this on the form because maybe they weren't in touch with the people they wanted to team up with. Now you can drop a mail. You don't have to do the same thing twice though.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Tanishka?
If I'm right, the
qualifications online?
Qualifiers are online. The finals are in like at IIT Madras. Ritvik?
Yeah, so as Sarvesh said, like the person who talked before, so he said that in our school we were divided into groups, and I'm his partner, including one more person. So in the form I had filled out both of their names. So will it be made sure that I'll be partners with?
You'll mostly get, I mean, if you did fill in a preference, we'll take that into consideration. Definitely. So that's not something that you need to be concerned about.
Sure.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Ritvik can lower his hand. Okay. Just give me 1 second. There's a couple of people in the waiting room. Yeah. All right. So on to the format, the one which we will be following for the qualifiers and finals is WSDC. I think some of you might even be familiar with it. For those who are not, I'll just explain it, right? There's 3 speakers in every team, right? Proposition speaker 1, 2, 3, and opposition speaker 1, 2, 3. They are also called different names. So proposition first speaker is just Prime Minister, and this is Prime Minister, and this is Deputy Prime Minister, so DPM in short, and the government third speaker is the government whip. Likewise, leader of opposition is the first speaker from opening opposition. From opposition side. DLO is the second speaker, deputy leader of opposition, short for that, and opposition whip is your third speaker from opposition, right? So it's that simple. Mute yourself, mute yourself. Oh, don't start singing, guys, please, without having muted yourself. It's really disturbing. Cool. Okay. So that's the speaker. I mean, those are the speakers on each side. How does the debate proceed then? The PM delivers their speech, which is to say that the government starts the debate. The leader of opposition follows the prime minister, right? So that's the second speech in the debate. Deputy prime ministers is the third speech. Deputy leader of opposition speech is the fourth speech. Government whip is the fifth speech. Opposition whip is the sixth speech, right? And then there are reply speeches from opposition and government. All right. So opposition reply comes before government reply. So government starts the debate and government also ends the debate. The reply from opposition comes soon after opposition whip speech, which means that opposition has gives 2 consecutive speeches in this instance, where opposition whip finishes their speech and then soon after opposition reply begins with their. Okay, so that's how this is what the structure looks like of the entire debate in the WSDC format. Now on to other things, right? What are the roles that you're supposed to play, etc. That I'll come to tomorrow. I think that's a bit more nuanced. The clarification for qualifiers, though, is that all the reply speeches are generally there in WSDC format, which is why I told you that there are reply speeches so that you are not confused. They are not going to be there for qualifiers. So I told you there's a concept of reply speeches for whoever was going to ask that question anyway, but it's not going to happen for qualifiers. This is a bit of a modification that we do from our side to make life easy for people who don't know the WSDC format just yet, too profoundly. Does that make sense? Are there any questions?
No.
No.
All right, moving on, in which case, now about the other details of the format and how it's going to be different for different grades, right? So for grade 6 to 9th, it's going to be 4 minutes long speeches, right? So the speeches, the duration for every speech, regardless of which speech it is in this particular, I mean, from these speeches, you could be giving whichever speech. You could be LO, DLO, DPM, government whip, whoever. You'd still be giving 4-minute long speeches. Adjudicator feedback will be given to you. And as in, once the debate is complete, the adjudicator will give you a feedback. They will tell you who won and why they won the debate over you, right? or why you won and took it over them. Then there's going to be your motion release. So motion release will happen for qualifiers on 20th December 2022 if the qualifiers were to happen on the 21st of December, right? So it's going to be one day before the tournament. That's basically when your motion will be declared. That's what you need to know. Okay. And POIs are going to be there. So POIs, I'll tell you what they are if nobody knows what, I mean, if some of you don't know what points of interjection are, but they're just basically a way of asking your other side a question. So POIs are going to be there for you. Now for the format, for the senior category, the format stays similar, but just a couple of alterations there. So your speeches will be longer. They'll be 6 minutes long. The motion release will happen on the day of the qualifiers, which means only an hour before the rounds. So if your round was starting at, let's say, hypothetically 2 p.m. on 21st December, you will be given your motion at 1 p.m., right? That's how it's going to function for you. All the other specifications are the same, which means POIs will be there, adjudicator feedback will be there for you as well. Okay, any other questions besides this about the format? Hi, Gurjai, Paul, I'll take your question.
Yes, so I wanted to ask, you said that the motions will be released one day prior to the qualifiers. So how many times will be debate on the 21st, if it's happening on the 21st?
So so there are 2 rounds in the qualifiers, if that's what you're asking.
Okay,
And the
so there are
you're going to be debating in 2 rounds. We will give you the
Okay.
motion a day before. So both the motions will be furnished a day before the tournament.
And what about the sides?
The sides will also be given from our side, but that will
Okay.
happen then and there.
Okay, then and there. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, this is a very difficult name to pronounce, so I'm just going to say BVs, and yeah.
Sir, actually the topics for the speech and debate will be like on the spot, or will it be given a few days before the debate and speech?
You sound like you are from the 7th to 9th category, so you will be given your motion a day before the tournament.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Priyanka?
So at what time will the qualifications be held? Because
The
it
qualifiers. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, you'll be informed about those details shortly.
it will be after school, right? After school hours, that is after 3:30.
Yeah, sorry, could you come again?
The qualifiers will be held after 3:30, that is after school hours.
Yeah, like I said, you will be given the timings and everything shortly. So that's a discussion that can happen after the declaration has happened for timings, etc. Right?
All right.
Yeah. Stuti?
When we're researching, will we be allowed to use the internet?
I'm sorry, I can't hear very clearly. Can you just give me 2 minutes? I'm just going to fix this.
Yeah.
Hi, yes. Could you please come again?
Yeah. When we're researching, will we be allowed to use the internet?
See, which category are you from?
7 to 9.
Okay, so mostly parliamentary debates and WSDC is not based on research from the internet. But if you need some clarifications, you can seek them if you're in the junior category. But internet is not recommended because it's not going to be anything profound.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jia?
Just a quick doubt. What if someone has 1 ninth grader and 2 10th graders?
Okay, that's absolutely incomprehensible for me. I don't know why. Could you please come again?
What if a team has 1 ninth grader and 2 10th graders?
Wow. Okay. That will not happen if we are making the teams, but did you give such preferences?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to have to check with the team and get back on this, right?
Okay.
Okay, so this is Jaya Mitra. Okay. Parthiv, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Yes. Our team has two 8th graders and a 6th grader, but then this shows 7 to 9. Are we still allowed to participate?
Yeah, 6th and 8th is within. No, it's 6th to 9th.
Okay, not 7 to 9.
No.
Right.
I have a doubt.
Yeah.
So I'm from 9th, and the two other my group members are from 10th and 12th. So what category will I come in?
Like I said, for you and Gia, I'm going to have to talk to the team and get back.
Okay.
Those preference will be difficult to engage with, basically, because the category clash is happening.
Okay.
Navya?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to get a clarification on whether grade 10 and 12 can refer to the internet for, say, statistics and stuff for the speeches.
Okay. So what you want is basically just some, I mean, reasoning is what reigns in WSDC format. So that's why statistics is not so important. But we've also released the theme already. I mean, we'll be releasing, I mean, all the details about the themes and the sub-themes is going to be up on the Instagram channel. So all you have to do is just research on that. So that will be your prerequisite for any research you might require during the tournament.
Okay. So any statistical information that will be mentioned in the speech will be marked, right?
No, that doesn't hold a lot of water. Only like substantial reasoning does.
Okay.
Which can be from your side only. Yeah.
Okay.
Ritwik, also please keep lowering your hands if the questions are clear.
Sure.
Rania?
Yeah, so my team has two 11th graders and I'm from the 9th grade. And I think we were told that 9th grade also comes under seniors selections.
Rania, I'm sorry, you'll have to come again. There's just some big problem. Can
Yeah,
you all of you be a bit louder?
Yeah, my team has two 11th graders and I'm from the 9th grade. And I think we were told that 9th graders also come under the senior category.
Okay, I am going to have to check with the team, right? So I'll get back on if all of you have similar question where there's categories clashing in a team. I mean, you will be given a response shortly on the WhatsApp group. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Shreya?
Yeah, is the date when we have to be present at the prelims, will it be decided by the
Shreya, louder, please. Louder.
The date when we have to participate in the prelims, will it be decided by the organization or is it our preference?
No, that's entirely up on us.
Okay, sure.
Samyukta?
How many rounds will there be on the 21st for the senior general?
There's 2 rounds for qualifiers. Diksha?
Do we need to support our speeches with evidences?
Like I said, evidence in terms of reasoning. So whenever you're given a motion, you will have to think about it, but it's not something that you will have to refer to the internet for, get it? So it's not based on statistics, it's based on reasoning, which you can yourself devise.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, everybody can lower. I think Disha, you can lower your hand if the answer you've gotten your answer. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Are there any questions? No. Yeah. Moving on. About points of information then. Points of information are just like questions that you can ask the other side if you want to engage with them besides the speeches that you're going to be delivering, right? Which is to say that whenever a speech is going on, you can ask, you can say POI in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and say POI, and the other person who is delivering the speech can take your POI and ask you what the question is, and accordingly respond to that question within their speech. Which means POIs don't happen after the speeches; they happen during the speeches. Okay. But how does that happen? If I'm delivering a speech and I have a 4-minute long speech to deliver, in the first minute of that speech and in the last minute of that speech, I cannot take a POI. in the time, in whatever time is left between those first and last, I mean, those 2 minutes, the first and the last, I can take a POI then. Okay, that's how POIs work. So like, if anybody wants to ask me a POI, they should ask me that after the first minute is over and before the last minute has begun. All right. Then about the nature of the POI. The POI is not supposed to be a clarification, which means you can't say that, oh, POI is we said this, so why are you saying that we said something else? That's not how POIs function. You're not trying to make clarification of what you said in your speech. POIs are strictly for you to ask the question. They should always be interrogative. They should always end in a question mark. You can't be making a statement saying while saying that it was going to be a POI, right? So the last thing that I want to tell you, I mean, not last, but then the last, perhaps most important thing that I want to tell you about POIs is that you can't take too long to ask the question, right? The question has to be short, like completed within the 15 seconds that you're given. Because understand that whatever time you take to ask the question is actually the time that is being taken away from the person's speech who is delivering the speech and who you're asking the question. So they're likely to have like concerns if your question is too long, right? So just have your questions beforehand if that's what helps you more, but just have a very concise and precise POI. All right. So about the other points then, speakers can accept or decline POIs, which means that I am under no obligation to accept any POI from anybody just because somebody wants to ask me one. You can write POI in the chat and I can choose to either take it or not take it. So it's not a compulsion on anybody to take a POI, although taking one is good. When you do end up taking a POI, what is the ideal number of POIs that you should take? I think 2 POIs maximum in a 6-minute long speech is good, but like just take 1 POI in a 4-minute long speech. That should be good as well, because you have less time in the junior category. So taking 1 POI should also be good enough. Teams should try to engage through POIs though. Just because they are not mandatory, it does not mean that you shouldn't take a POI, because it just makes engagement better and you are able to understand what the other side objects to, particularly with reference to your case, etc. Right? Okay. So while the debate is happening, speakers are also told to like give their preferred way of receiving POI. So if I'm about to start my speech, I'm going to say, panel, I'm going to be putting my POI in the chat. I'm sorry, I'll take my POIs through chat, or I'll take my POIs verbally. According to whatever preference I have given, you have to respect that and ask me POIs in that mode only, which means if I have told you to not heckle me by unmuting yourself, you should not heckle me by unmuting and saying POIs every now and then. Another very important aspect of POIs from like a decorum perspective is that you cannot ask 2 POIs within 20 seconds, right? So if I've asked you a POI now, I have to wait for at least next 20-30 seconds to ask you another, or perhaps put my POI in the chat. Put my POI in the chat doesn't just mention POI. Don't just write your POI in the chat. That's not how it works. Okay. Are there any questions about POIs before I go into like the research tips, which is just like the fundamental things that you should and should not do? Navya, yes?
Yeah, I just want to understand that POIs could be questions you want to ask regarding the content that they've spoken between that 1 minute post the starting of the speech until now, as well as any other thing which you feel might be relevant to that, right?
Yeah, so POIs have to be strictly about things that the other side is saying, not about things that you researched about, not about things besides like outside of the debating room, which might be relevant but haven't been talked about. Not those things.
And you can ask for further, and you can ask for further clarification about a point, right? If not just completely
No.
denying.
No further clarifications are allowed. You just ask a POI once, they respond and continue with the speech.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Amirtha, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, can only the next speaker ask the POI, or in the 3 speakers, can anyone ask the POI?
Anybody can ask a POI.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? I don't see any hands here, so I think we're good. Okay, moving on. About some research tips, and this is very fundamental. So, like basic stuff. So when you're about research, right? First of all, I've told you that WSDC format is not strictly circumscribed by how much research you have under your belt, which means even if you aren't like a researcher, it doesn't operate like MUNs do, right? Where you have to have like heavy case files with you or know everything about the portfolio that you've been given. WSDC is a simpler format which relies on your reasoning. So if you have some, if you have some background knowledge on what this motion is about, it's about how well you're able to articulate things, put them in a context, talk about the people involved in the debate, etc., which doesn't come from the internet, but from your own understanding of the society and how it operates, right? So that's one. But you might want to do research in terms of like we've given you the theme already, right? And the theme here is going to be science, technology, and society, which is to say that it's not called science, technology, and society. It's future of modern society, reassessing scientific endeavors, but it's basically science and the modern society and how they come together, and if it's good for us from a futuristic perspective. That's what your theme is, which is why you should start thinking about what are like the topical issues within the realm of science, what's happening in terms of space technology, in terms of nuclear fusion, or like other scientific endeavors that are taking place right now or might have taken place and are thereby being talked about a lot. So when you research about them, always research from reliable sites. Also, preferably just refer to a lot of modalities and not just one. What are modalities? Just like if I read an article, I should also watch a YouTube video perhaps on the same thing, and then I should perhaps read a blog, which means that there should be different things and different kinds of data I'm consuming to understand that same concept, because that gives me fresh perspectives and doesn't make me think like that one piece that I might have read about from somewhere and didn't bother cross-checking. It also ensures that you are objectively right on track and talking about things that are accurate and not making like false just because you read it from like an unreliable source. So don't fall back on those broken reads. Please just explore as much as you can about a theme. But then there's some sites that you can refer to are just recommended on the slide. You can read that for yourself. When you're researching, also keep in mind the possible dimensions of something, right? So even if we're talking about science, don't just restrict yourself to like heavy scientific stuff, right? Or jargons, which just talk about how nuclear fusion happens, this, that. Also talk about perhaps the impacts of this scientific endeavor on society, right? Or which society has access to this, which society does not have access to this. So social understanding of scientific endeavors as well, but also cultural understanding, right? How is science perceived by like perhaps cultures, or how receptive are people to, let's say, stuff like artificial intelligence, machines thinking by themselves, etc., etc. I could also talk about it then from a political perspective. I could think about the kind of money that the government of a country is willing to invest in research and development, etc., which is how I undertake a political viewpoint on a scientific thing. This is to say that there's going to be multiple dimensions that you can tap into, even when it seems strictly restricted to science or some particular discipline. Don't restrict yourself to one dimension. Explore as many dimensions as you will during your research on the theme. Motions are not something that you will have to research upon if you already have researched on the themes. That's another like recommendation. Just like start going through the themes of like this particular tournament. Now, how to research, like the don'ts within how to research? Well, of course, don't go to one source only. That's oftentimes is misleading. And especially when you're reading opinionated pieces, right? Editorials, etc. Please refer to as many pieces as you can and don't just stick to one. Secondly, research the background and not exact arguments. Even if you get your motion with 1 day before the debate or an hour before the debate, there's likelihood of you going to the internet. Please remember that even if you try to act smart and say that, oh, I'm going to get my arguments from the internet, one, it's very easy for adjudicators to cut through that because we can, tell an original argument apart from like an unoriginal argument. But also in terms of how the internet doesn't have enough to give you the kind of argumentation that WSDC requires you to have, right? About a proper analysis, which I'll be coming to in the days to come, the training sessions. But always research the theme. Always research the overarching concern of the motion. Don't just look for arguments, how to find good arguments on so and so motion. Don't Google like that. Okay. And then, of course, there's some sites to avoid, like Quora, where people can write anything, whenever they want, whatever they want, and Wikipedia. So don't refer to these problematic sites or like just some random blogs that anybody is trying to make money out of. Okay. Criteria for adjudicators, what is it going to be? So you're going to be marked for your matter, your manner, and method. What are these three components? Matter is strictly what you are going to say in your debate, in your speech. Okay, so whatever you have been able to come up with in your case prep with your partners, however, whatever arguments you come up with, the quality of arguments, the analysis of arguments, all of that will count as matter, right? So diversity, uniqueness of argument, explanation, substantiating examples on the argument, all of the arguments, all of this becomes a part of matter, right? Manner, on the other hand, is just you being on camera, not reading it off a page, being able to rebut well even without like flinching or recoiling, but also like being respectful towards the fellow like debaters, even if you are radically opposed to what they're saying, just not being very bombastic and disrespectfully rhetorical towards the other side. All of that counts as manner. Third is method. Method is just like you could have excellent matter, but then you might not know how to arrange that matter, which might be a problem. So method is just you giving a solid structure to your argument so that the explanation makes sense. So if I think this point should be put above the second point because the second point will only make sense if the first is explained better, that counts as method. And I'll tell you how to like structure speeches effectively in the days to come on training. Any questions so far? Okay, seeing none, moving on. Nand Kishore, is there a question?
Will we be given like how we are supposed to like space our time, like first 15 seconds with stance, etc.?
Sorry, what?
Like will we be given by you on how to space our time, or can we choose it
Okay,
ourselves?
this was discussed in the previous slides. You will be given, yes, everything will be given by the organization, and you can just watch the recording. I have clarified everything, when it will be done, everything. I can't repeat all the details now. Okay. All right. Seeing no other questions, moving on. So now, okay, I don't want to in detail talk about speaker roles just yet, but let me just start discussing some of it, like just scratch the surface for today about what you're supposed to do as a particular speaker and why, right? So the first speaker is always supposed to set up the debate, right? So you have to go ahead and tell me, where is this debate happening? Why is this debate happening at all? Because a debate always happens with a context in place, right? It doesn't happen without a context, which is why it's like necessary for you to tell me where this debate is happening. And it doesn't necessarily like doesn't mean that you have to give me a geographical locale for that. You don't have to say that it's happening in developing country, it's happening in India, this, that. You can also tell me that it's happening in a society which looks like this or that, right? For example, if I have to talk about a movie in a motion, I'm going to talk about how movies are perceived by the public, by people in general, right? Or I'm going to talk about how much communalism there is in movies nowadays, or how much what the criticism is like on movies, right? Or how Oscars happen or some such thing. Some aspect of the world which directly relates to stuff like movies, popular culture, right? Which is how you just like analyze the situation more and go beyond the thing that you are trying to talk about and look at like the larger perspective of things. For example, if science is the theme and I've been like prescribed to talk about nuclear fuel, not even that, let's just say artificial intelligence, I can talk about other things as well, right? What does the world look like? What is people's perception of artificial intelligence? Do the developing countries know enough about this, or would they be left behind in the process? All of those things are something that should be covered in the first speaker speech itself, right? Where you just try to analyze what is important in this debate, who are you seeking to benefit, what is the end goal that you keep in mind. If you think generative artificial intelligence should happen, why do you think that should happen, right? How is it going to benefit human society, civilization? If you think there are some harms of it, why do you think these harms are going to are going to transpire, or a thing that which we should bother about? So those basic fundamental setting up of the debate happens at first speaker. But then in the second speaker speeches, and I'm not necessarily going according to the slides here, so you can read them by yourself when we share this particular presentation with you. The second speaker necessarily rebuilds the case that the first speaker is going to give to you. So if my first speaker has already explained the points that I have mentioned, my second speaker's role is to defend them against the attacks that the other side might have thrown at us, right? So if the first speaker has said that artificial intelligence is good, opposition speaker though has said that no, artificial is not good, artificial intelligence is not good for so and so reasons, the role of the deputy prime minister or my deputy now is to rebuild my argument, say that although the other side might have tried to rebut it, we still think they fall short, and my partner's arguments still stand for so and so reasons, which means an in-depth analysis of what has been cursorily happens in the second speaker speeches. So second speaker speeches are for analysis, for rebuilding, and for rebuttals to the other side. Because in the first speaker speeches, of course, you haven't heard the other side's speech yet. You were the first one. So it's the second speaker's responsibility to understand the other side's case better and then adapt to it, right? So the second speaker role is also more adaptive and more dynamic. You can't think about it during case prep. You have to always be on your toes to determine what you have to say in this debate as deputy. Right, and these roles remain by and large the same on both the sides, and the details of it and how they might differ for both the sides I'll go into tomorrow, because today it will not make a lot of sense. The third speaker then is the whip speaker, and the responsibility of the whip speaker is to compare now. By the time deputy speeches end, there's a lot of clarity on what this debate has been about and which side has been able to talk about what. There's a lot of clarity on those things. So the responsibility of the whip speaker is not to reinvent the wheel and say the same things over again or summarize it, basically. Not that, right? The whip speaker's responsibility is to tell us, if I am the adjudicator, why do they win this debate? So why were your two speakers better able to establish your points and thereby take it over the other side and not the other way around? Why does that happen? This is what happens at whip speaker speeches. All right. So whip speaker is basically weighing and comparisons that they said this, we are saying this, we think we still take it over them for so and so reasons. So whip speakers also happen on a comparative, which means you can't singularly run your case. You can't say that it's we say this, we say that, because of which we win. No, you always have to engage with the other side, consider what the other side said, and then accordingly rebut. Okay, that's super important. Now, like I said, details we'll ponder upon later. Are there any questions with reference to what we discussed today? Diksha, I see that your hand is raised.
So how well can we present our opinions apart from the evidences?
That I will come to tomorrow. So you just basically are asking how to frame arguments, right? I will.
No,
I
ma'am.
will.
How well we can tell our opinion?
So no, you can't share your. See, it's not about opinion, because we are going to give you a stance. Do you get it? So if you're going to go for or against, it's going to be determined by us. So it's not your opinion. It's what you're told to do and how well you can do it without. I mean, you don't always need statistics. You can just say that. I mean, it's not always through statistics that you prove things, but then for that, I will have to explain how WSDC works and how arguments in there work, for which you'll have to wait until tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, any other questions? Irina?
Yes, thank you. So is the main theme going to be science?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
There's going to be, yeah. So you should just stay posted through the Instagram for Ideal. So
Okay.
from there, you'll know about everything. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Navya. Navya, is there a question? Yeah.
Yes. I just want to understand that how many individuals will be proceeding for the finals?
That's a discussion that'll take place later. So we'll give you clarity on that soon enough.
Okay, thank you.
Stuti?
So we won't be going in as a team, like you will select us individually, not as a team.
There's going to be team selections. A team proceeds or it doesn't.
Oh, the whole team has to go, otherwise.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there no other questions? Okay, if that's the case, you can just start exiting the call. Thank you so much for joining in. Have a good evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Whoever has a question can stay back and get it cleared.
Thank you.
Hey, so I have a doubt.
Hi, yes.
So I've given my information to the host in my school who had given us the information about the TNDC debate. So have they sent you the details? Because we had already made a team and everything.
Yeah, that must have been communicated. You can just put it on the WhatsApp group as well for better clarification on that. I'll get back to that.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Priyanka's done. How do you pronounce that name? Viveka? Yeah.
It's Viveka. So my question is, in the form you gave, right? I only have given one partner's name. So the third partner, will it be given by the team itself in the WhatsApp group tomorrow?
See, you will be given the required number of people to form a team. Please don't worry about that.
Hi, sorry, could you come again?
So your question is about the third part teammate, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you will be allotted one.
All right, thank you.
Just one doubt.
Yeah.
So what is the theme for this year? Can you just clarify on that?
It's basically science and how it shapes our future. So science, civilization, and future.
Okay. Thank you.
Diksha.
So we are a team of 2. Can I make it as 2 by my own, or is it like you will only select them?
Okay, guys, no more question on teams. We are going to make the teams. If you have given preferences, they will be taken into consideration. Okay. Harini?
Thank you.
So I was wondering, what will be the topic and when will you give it?
That's been covered in the orientation. I recommend that you go and watch the YouTube, recording on YouTube. That'll be posted shortly. So it's going to be category wise. Okay, you'll figure it out. Pranav.
Yeah. So, do we have to respond to the POIs after our speech, and do we have any time limit for like response?
No, there's no time limit, but then it's your speech that's going on. And if you just take a lot of time answering your POI, the likelihood of missing out on other things that you wanted to mention in your speech is high. So you want to moderate it and perhaps give the reply in not more than 30 seconds. But yeah, the speech is going on while you're answering your POI. It cannot happen after or before the speech.
Okay.
All right. So I think we can call it a day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Samyukta, yes.
Can you tell me the email ID for service secretary and
Your voice is very unclear.
Can you tell me the mail ID for English and send my teammate's name?
Yeah, it's hello@ogly.ai.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you so much for joining in, everybody. See you tomorrow.